In this exclusive Money Masterclass segment, we welcome Minister of Finance and the Public Service, the Honorable Fayval Williams, who was appointed to the role by Prime Minister Andrew Holness on October 30, 2024. As the new leader of Jamaica's financial future, Minister Williams will share her vision for the country's economic outlook in this year and to outline her key areas of focus for the first quarter. We hope to address pressing financial issues, the government's fiscal strategies, and the plans in place to ensure stability and growth for Jamaicans. Minister Williams, welcome to Sunrise, and most importantly, welcome to the Money Masterclass.
Thank you so much. It's a delight to be here this morning, yes.
Wonderful.
And let me just say good morning to all the early risers.
Trust me, the early risers, because to be here at this time, I know you had to be up from before daybreak. But thank you so very much for being here. Minister Williams, the Money Masterclass is a segment on Sunrise where we try to make financial jargons and terms a little bit more palatable, that the common man can understand and appreciate money and the world of finance. But most importantly, your appointment is very historic. You are the first female Minister of Finance. I see Miss Kitty, you're waving and trumping. Yes, girl power. It's quite historic, but I'm so interested to find out how your journey in the world of finance, how did Minister Williams started? You know, where did you grow up? Who is Minister Williams?
Well, I grew up in a very, very small community called Ty Dixon in St. Catherine.
Okay, yes,
yes, it's near the sugar lands, Lloyd's Vale. So it's near where persons often would go to get jobs in the cane fields. So I grew up in that community, went to basic school, primary school, and then passed for Ferncourt High School in Claremont St. Anne. So I had to leave home to go to St. Anne to live with a family there while I was going to high school. And I think that experience forced me to become independent very early on, to take care of myself, to make sure I wake up and go to school and all of that. So I would say, when I look back on my upbringing and what it is that would have shaped me, it would have been, the journey through high school.
Through high school.
Yes.
I heard you mention high school. I know college is involved, but your feet in finance, how did you get started in the field of finance? And I want persons who are watching to have an appreciation that, like, Minister Williams is coming to the table with experience in the area of finance. Talk to me about that just for a little.
Sure. So right after high school, I went to work in the banking sector in Jamaica. Yes. Then it was a big deal to go work
in the bank. Yes, when you're in the bank, you're reaching out, you're
right. Yes.
Yes.
And I worked there for about 3 years. And then I had to go away to the United States to join family. And while there, that was where my higher education journey began in the United States.
Okay, nice. So, Minister Williams, your appointment comes at a very pivotal point for Jamaica. How has that transition been for you? How has it been moving from the education ministry, now in finance? How has that been for you?
It's been good. Recall that I was at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service prior. First as a state minister, and then as a minister without portfolio, with the Honorable Audley Shaw at the time. And that experience was significant. Together working with Minister Shaw, I saw the length and breadth of the finance ministry at the time, going from there to the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, where I actually had a full ministry. That's another level of experience, because that was more interacting directly with the sectors that, the ministry had charge of, so the telecom sector, the electricity sector, and so on. And then the transition to the Ministry of Education, which is a sector that touches all lives.
Yes.
Yes. Very broad, very deep. Any day you wake up, you do not know what is going to be presented to you on that day, just because there's so many different things happening always in the education sector, just the continued need for for the reform efforts to continue, because we're dependent on the education of our people. Correct. To really help us to see the kind of economic growth that we love to see.
Speaking of economic growth, with the resignation of Dr. Nigel Clark, and you assuming the role now, what are some of the major economical challenges you're seeing here for the nation, and how do you plan to address some of these major challenges, say the first quarter of 2025?
All right, well, let me say that if you look at the history of this administration, this Jamaica Labour Party administration, and you look back to 2016 to now, we have been able to put growth on the table, consecutive quarters of growth prior to COVID and after COVID. We've operated on the principle that the less you tax people, the better it is for them and for the economy. We operate on the principle that we have to have buffers in our budget so that we can weather the storms when they come, literally. And you've seen us go through burial. Significant hurricane, followed by Raphael, which was, a sizable tropical storm as well. And then the constant rains after that. But here we are now recovering out of all of that. Beautiful. And it's because we had buffers. We had layers of protection for the economy. So, for example, more than 100 schools were severely damaged. But we could just wake up and get those schools repaired. And the sector, come the first Monday in September, everybody went back to school as if we never had this significant hurricane. And that speaks to the policies that have been enacted over the time period that we've been there.
I love that you mentioned that. But if you should highlight, say, one major economical challenge that we are going to be addressing, that your ministry will be addressing, so that the ordinary Jamaicans now can benefit from that, what would that maybe that one major thing that we need to address?
Well, I know in this year, 2025, we'll begin to look again at the new wage cycle. That is always a big thing for our economy. Our government is large. Wage as a percentage of tax revenues is quite significant. So this year, 2025, we're going to have to navigate that as best as we can, recognizing that our human resources are the most important thing we have.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
I want to jump on as well. I know debt reduction for the government has been a major thing. The country, the government has been able to reduce debt to GDP significantly. My question is, though, are we going to be focusing on that moving forward, being fiscal discipline, being disciplined financially, but finding that balance where we are still able to ensure that major infrastructure is still being developed? Will our focus be on, going over there to get more debt reduced? Or how do you plan to find that balance between debt reduction and still ensuring that, major things can still happen and the people of Jamaica can still feel, the impact?
Well, we will continue to balance the way that we have been doing, remaining fiscally prudent, while at the same time continuing on the path of debt reduction. We are committed to getting to that 60% debt to GDP.
Yes, which is me.
It's a lot of it. You're a financial person, so when I say to you a lot of it is already baked in, it's there, right?
Correct.
We have to move on that path to get to that 60%. By fiscal 27-28.
Wonderful. You mentioned earlier about the public sector and the employees and civil servants, etc., in the previous conversation. But you've mentioned also an interest in modernizing Jamaica's public service. How do you plan to use the ministry to create more efficient and transparent financial systems that benefits the ordinary Jamaicans?
Are you speaking to the financial systems externally?
Yes, externally,
the banks, the brokers,
how do we plan to,
and so
to
on.
leverage all of that?
Let me say, when I look at the financial sector, Jamaica has a well-developed financial sector relative to our peers in the Caribbean. They look at us as the giant of the Caribbean. But there still needs to be improvement. Many Jamaicans feel distant from the financial sector. Yes, they'd love to interact more with it, but it's a daunting experience for them. You know, it's not something they necessarily look forward to, especially waiting in line at the bank, waiting in line at the ATM. You know, we must work to get it to be a more fulfilling and rewarding experience for Jamaica.
Means you have so many persons who are still underbanked. They're still unbanked. And you mentioned that so many persons may not want to go to the formal banking system because of just the process that is involved. Do you think the Ministry of Finance has any part to play in getting more Jamaicans banked, trusting the banking system, trusting the sector? Just being a part of the banked population, do you think the ministry has a role to play? And how do they plan to get more Jamaicans into the banking system?
Well, absolutely, through education, through the banking sector, making it easier. I know that over the years, it has taken steps to make it easier for persons to open a bank account, make it easier for persons to come in. But there's still more to be done. So, for example, as a banker yourself, as someone in the financial sector, I know that there are banks in this world, maybe in our neighbor up north, in which you don't have to go into their bank to deposit a check or to open an account. I know it's been tried here, but I want to see more of that, where somebody can be at home, and if they have to deposit a check, they can do it electronically. Taking a picture of the check, send it in, and so on. It can be done.
We're hoping that we'll get there.
Yeah.
CVM has an amazing program. It's called Corner Office, where they focus on small businesses and just to highlight small businesses. I want to know from a governmental perspective, what initiatives are being considered to foster financial inclusion and to allow small businesses to maybe have more access to capital so they can grow. We can both agree that small businesses, they have a major impact on the economy. From the ministry standpoint, what can we expect to be put in place to assist, to aid small businesses, young entrepreneurs in making the most of that?
Well, I know that there have been efforts through the DBJ, which is our development bank, to make different windows available to small businesses. I know that the DBJ uses commercial banks, and that may not be the most effective or the most efficient, because when they have to put a markup on it, and so by the time it gets to the small business, the rate on that loan is high. So we have to look at that to see how we can efficiently pass through these various windows, if you will, of financing to the smaller companies. But also, and I was just speaking with the general manager of the stock exchange last week, we've had a phenomenal experience with the junior market, where many companies have listed. They've gained access to equity capital to expand their business and to grow. There are other, she mentioned the micro market that she's had, you know, within her heart for a long time. That is something I'm very willing to work on from the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service to make it become a reality. Because Minister, I know that companies, when they're starting up, bank loan is not the best.
It's not the best for them.
It's not the best for them. They really need risk capital from investors, who understand the risk of the business, who can be patient, who can provide technical assistance, all of that to help nurture. So we'd love to get there.
We'd love to get that.
Yeah.
The reality is, Minister, a lot of ordinary Jamaicans, every single day, they will hear that the economy is growing, things are booming, things are happening, but they're not feeling that on the ground. Many Jamaicans will say that, well, the minister said this are going on, country are growing, things are happening, but me now feel it on the ground. Those are the exact words of many Jamaicans. What is the ministry doing, or what can the ministry do from your end to ensure that ordinary Jamaicans are feeling the impact, the benefit of this macro growth that is taking place?
So, Carlton, unemployment at a little over 3%. We've never seen that in a long time. We have to go back to, I don't know how far back.
But what can
so
the
that
ministry
means,
do?
so that means more people are
being
working,
employed, yes.
are being employed, right? But I mean, you can always say, I'm being employed, however, my wages are not what I would like. So we can have that conversation now. So how do we move from there so that you could have an employment in which you feel you're adequately compensated? And, you know, it takes training. It means you have to upskill yourself. And I know HEART has been offering all kinds of programs to all and sundry to upskill themselves so that they can, you know, keep moving up. That's how you get higher income, right? You can't just stay at one stage and expect to expand yourself there. You have to take on these opportunities.
Truth enough. Minister, I wish that we had more time, but unfortunately we don't. But before you go, I want to know from your standpoint, what is the legacy that you want to be known for when you exit this office, this very important office? What legacy do you want Minister Fayval Williams to be known for? What legacy have you left behind in this ministry and the impact on money for Jamaicans? What impact?
I want to be known for leaving the largest buffer for us so that our country can weather any storm that comes along our way, literally speaking. You know, we've been through hurricanes, we've been through health disasters, and if we did not have buffers, we would not have emerged as quickly as we have. There is a policy in place. I want that to be enduring, for that to become part of our psyche, and that you know, we continue to have that because of where we are geographically. We just have to come to terms with that and say the way we go through that is by ensuring that we have these buffers available to us to respond to shocks.
Minister Williams, it was a pleasure speaking with you this morning. I was about to say it was a pleasure being in my corner office. It was a pleasure being in Money Masterclass this morning. And as you closed with just being able for the country to respond to any shocks that may come, that for me is something positive. And I hope that we will be able to get where we need to get as a country financially, and that the average Jamaican and Jamaicans can start benefiting even more from some of the policies, from taxation, from reduction in taxes. And I want to applaud the government as well to not introduce any new tax. I wouldn't want a new tax minister this year either. Thank you so very much. No new tax this year, but we should be able to weather the storms. And thank you so very much. Our guest this morning has been the Honorable Fayval Williams, Minister of Finance and the Public Service. Sunrisers, continue to send in your financial questions so I can help you to get on track for this year. TK is on standby with the news right after this. Minister, thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.